On August 9, 1965, a visibly shaken Lee Kuan Yew appeared on national television to deliver a message that seemed like a death sentence. Singapore had been expelled from Malaysia. For Lee, it was a moment of profound personal and political anguish. He had spent his life fighting for a union that had just collapsed, leaving his people stranded and alone. The expulsion was a calculated move by the leadership in Kuala Lumpur. They feared that Singapore's strategic port and its ethnic Chinese majority would eventually dominate the Malaysian Federation. By casting the island out, they believed they were protecting their own political interests, leaving behind a territory they assumed could not survive on its own. The reality on the ground was catastrophic. Singapore was a failed state before it even began. It possessed no natural resources, no agricultural land, and no hinterland to support its population. The island was forced to import 50% of its water and 90% of its food from the very neighbors that had just rejected it. Most of the population lived in squalid, overcrowded slums without running water or electricity. Illiteracy was widespread, and ethnic tensions between Malays and Chinese frequently erupted into violent riots that left bodies in the streets. Facing this collapse, Lee Kuan Yew chose defiance over surrender. He made a bold promise to a frightened nation. Today, this is a modern city. 10 years from now, this will be a metropolis. Never fear. To achieve this, he implemented a governance model based on absolute order and pragmatic ruthlessness. The first priority was survival through international recognition and security. In 1965, Singapore joined the United Nations to secure its place on the global map. Regionally, the environment was hostile, particularly due to Indonesia's violent confrontasi campaign, in a move that was both controversial and deeply pragmatic. Lee visited the graves of Indonesian commandos to stabilize relations. This prioritization of security over sentiment led to the co-founding of ASEAN in 1967. Militarily, the island was an empty shell following the British withdrawal. To fix this, Lee introduced compulsory national service and secretly brought in Israeli advisors to build the Singapore armed forces from scratch. His philosophy was unyielding. If you cannot defend yourself, no one else will do it for you. Domestically, Lee began a massive project of social engineering. He established 4 official languages: Chinese, Malay, Tamil, and English, positioning English as the neutral bridge to prevent ethnic dominance. He also introduced strict housing quotas, forcing different races to live in the same high-rise complexes to prevent the formation of ethnic ghettos. The economic strategy was equally calculated. Following the advice of Dutch economist Albert Winsemius, Lee abandoned traditional ideology. He decided to make Singapore irresistible to foreign multinationals by lowering taxes, eliminating corruption, and enforcing labor peace. Global giants like GE and Panasonic were invited to build factories, while the education system was reoriented to produce the precise technical workforce these companies required. To fund this transformation without relying on foreign debt or a traditional welfare state, the government created the Central Provident Fund. This forced citizens to save a significant portion of their income, which was then used to finance massive public infrastructure and high-rise housing projects. Lee's message was clear: there would be no handouts. Every citizen was responsible for their own survival. Governance under Lee was efficient but strictly authoritarian. He doubled the salaries of ministers to discourage corruption, but gave the Corrupt Practices Investigation Bureau total autonomy to prosecute anyone, regardless of loyalty. This was demonstrated when a close minister, caught in a bribery scandal, committed suicide after Lee refused to intervene. His stance was cold. No one is above the law. If we make one exception, the system fails. This iron-fisted approach extended to every corner of life. Minor infractions like littering or chewing gum were met with massive fines or jail time. Political opponents were often bankrupted by lawsuits or detained without trial. The press was tightly controlled and censored. Lee's justification was direct: we decide what is right. Never mind what the people think. If I had not interfered in the private lives of citizens, we wouldn't be here today. His pragmatism was rooted in a brutal past. Growing up under the Japanese occupation, he had seen the British Empire, which he had been taught was invincible, collapse in just 70 days, having narrowly escaped execution himself during the Sukching massacres. He learned that survival belongs only to those who are disciplined and self-reliant. The results of this Singapore model are undeniable. By the year 2000, Singapore's GDP per capita reached $24,000, equaling Canada and France. Today, that figure exceeds $90,000, surpassing the United States. In education, the country consistently leads global PISA rankings. Lee Kuan Yew died in 2015 at the age of 91. Millions of Singaporeans stood in the rain to honor the man who turned a resource-poor island into a global power. His legacy remains a stark testament to the power of iron discipline, leaving behind a nation that is arguably the most successful and most controlled city-state in history.